He was bringing diamonds, bringing expensive gifts. So it was really quick and really easy to fall for him. I wasn't able to get him on the phone for a while, and it was very, very uncommon for him not to call me back. I just had this feeling.
Miami-Dade County Police and Fire, where is your emergency?
Somebody tried to kill me.
Upon entry, we have a adult male that's laying down in the hallway.
What's unique is that just 1 month prior at the exact same location, someone had been shot on the same premises.
She saw him do an action that she believed was him reaching for a gun.
If somebody enters inside your home and you're in fear of your life, you can use deadly force.
But to me, it was cold-blooded murder.
I was like, I have to camera this call. I won't let it go. Okay? And I don't have an eye for an hour.
May 20th, 2008, in Miami, Florida. At 3:11 p.m., police dispatchers receive a frantic 911 call.
Miami-Dade County Police and Fire, where is your emergency?
Yes, it is. There's somebody in my house that tried to kill me. I'm on fire. I run to the street.
I need you to try to calm down so I can understand you.
There's somebody tried to kill me. I grabbed the gun and I shot at him. He was attacking me, and then I ran to the street. He said, I weapons his arm.
She's telling the operator repeatedly, hey, I just shot someone. I just ran outside.
What is your name?
My name is Carvalho.
The 911 operator did a good job of calming her, telling her things will be all right, and asking her not to panic.
Who is this person? Your brother, boyfriend? Who is this person?
This guy is my husband's friend.
Did he have any weapons?
I think
Are you with your friend right now?
No, I'm in the street. I'm hiding.
North Miami Police Department officers rush to this woman's home because from the 911 call, all they know at the time is, okay, this woman is distressed. She said that she just shot someone who had forced his way into her home.
When they arrive, police and EMTs find the front door open.
We don't know yet if the person that was shot is deceased, if they're still in the house. We don't know what's going on.
Upon entry, we have a adult male that's laying down in the hallway. He appears to have multiple gunshot wounds, lifeless, not breathing, and possibly without a pulse. First thing you're gonna do is try to stop any kind of bleeding, any life-threatening injuries. And obviously, multiple gunshot wounds, it's gonna be difficult.
Officers find no one else in the home. Paramedics discover the victim's injuries are too severe to survive.
Unfortunately, he succumbed to his injuries. After further investigation, investigators checked and found a wallet and ID in his pocket.
Upon going into his wallet, they discovered that this man was 27-year-old Elon Neeson.
In the 911 call, Janepsy told the operator that this was someone her husband knew. You have a dead man and you know who killed him. Janepsy Carvalho called 911 and said she shot him. The question is why? Why did she shoot him?
Alon Lodi Nissim was born on August 6, 1980, the youngest of 6 children.
His family is originally from Israel. A lot of his siblings were born here, but his family is from Israel. His dad was really into the culture.
He kept his religion and kept his culture, but He loved Miami. Therefore, he hung out with different people and he kept a diverse group of friends.
As a young man, Elon had dreams to chart his own path and make his fortune. But some of the people Elon made contact with landed him in trouble.
He had some early run-ins with the law, but after graduating high school, he really got into real estate. He had mentors around him and people that taught him about mortgages, about financing, buying property, rehabbing property.
He was very detailed and very driven. He took notes, very detailed notes. He built several successful houses, and his goal was to start building commercial buildings in the Miami area.
In the early 2000s, Elon met Nikita Bennett at a local hangout.
I met him at a spot called The Tree. I think it was mainly for like older people who used to hang out in Miami area, but a lot of younger people used to ride through and hang out there as well. So we kind of got numbers that night and we started talking like the next day.
Nikita was drawn in by Elon's energy.
I love that he was so focused on getting things done. I love that he was a go-getter and he was just driven about making things happen.
Elon brought that same intensity to wooing Nikita.
Talking about the first 6 months, he was bringing diamonds, bringing expensive gifts, and just things I just never had experienced before. He brought flowers, we went on dates, he was romantic. So it was really quick and really easy to fall for him.
By early 2006, the couple was expecting a child.
He definitely wanted to be a father. I felt like it's something he always wanted. Getting ready for the baby was it was everything. He did a lot of shopping for the baby, going into the stores. He was really excited. He couldn't wait to be her father.
Like many fathers, you have a larger sense of responsibility. So he started shopping prior to the baby being born, buying nice things for the baby, making sure his girlfriend Nikita was taken care of and had everything she needed. In October of 2006, Nikita gave birth to a beautiful baby girl. Elon was very excited. This was his first child and he always wanted to be a father.
Elon and Nikita connected with other young parents, including Orlando Mesa and Genepsi Carballo.
They had a young child, about the same age as our child. Actually, they were the same age. They had a son, we had a daughter. So we kind of bonded a little bit.
Genepsi and Orlando were both immigrants from Cuba. They both came to Miami and settled. They were known for being very driven, very work-oriented.
Like Elon, Orlando rose from humble beginnings to become a successful businessman.
Orlando had 2 successful food trucks, and because of the success with the food truck industry, he wanted to branch out and build on that success. So he met Elon, and Elon was introducing him to the real estate industry. They liked each other, they got along, so they decided to work together.
In early 2008, the future looked bright for the 2 entrepreneurs and their families.
We had plans of going on his boat and doing some things as couples, just getting to know their family a little bit. I thought they were really nice.
Life was good for Elon. He was living the American dream. He had a daughter, he had his girlfriend, and he was living well.
But on the afternoon of May 20th, 2008, Elon lies dead in a North Miami home from multiple gunshot wounds. 31-year-old Genepsi Carballo called 911, claiming she shot Elon after a confrontation in her home.
Genepsi Carballo had called and told them that there was an intruder, that there was a struggle, he tried to attack her, and that she shot him.
The officers find Genepsi at the neighbor's house. They take her on down to the station so she can make a statement.
Detectives with the North Miami PD arrive on the scene.
They get there and they immediately know that they've been to this house before, just a few weeks ago.
What's unique about all of this is that just 1 month prior at the exact same location, someone had been shot on the same premises.
Genepsi's husband, Orlando Mesa, was shot and killed in front of his home. That case is still unsolved, and presumably the killer is still on the loose. So that's 2 men who have been killed at this home within 30 days.
North Miami homicide detectives are at the home of Genepsi Carballo, where 27-year-old Elon Neeson lies dead from multiple gunshot wounds.
Upon checking the scene, the investigators found a black .38 revolver in the driveway, and it seemed like this was probably the weapon that was used on the victim.
It appears that Genepsi dropped the gun as she was running from the scene to her neighbor's house, so they collected and take it into evidence.
Detectives step inside.
There was no indication that there was a break-in. The door was left open because she fled the house after the shooting.
When they walk in, it looks like things are being packed up for a move. There are boxes everywhere, duffel bags and things like that. Elon is lying on his stomach in the hallway. One arm slightly bent up towards his head, and his legs are bent. He's wearing blue jeans, a white shirt, and sneakers.
However, they didn't find a gun on his person. They didn't find him to be armed. The medical examiner took pictures of the scene to document what was going on. Any blood spatter, any ingress and egress of bullet wounds.
She finds he has been shot approximately 5 times. So of course they wanted to know why she shot him so many times.
Investigators head back to the police department so they can put that question to Genepsi.
Genepsi is at the station, but she's been here before. Just over a month ago, her husband Orlando was shot and killed in front of their home.
April 20th, 2008, Orlando Mesa and his 18-month-old son Noah were walking, and a vehicle pulled up. 2 individuals got out of the car and proceeded to shoot at both him and his son.
The child was shot in the leg and the arm. Although the wounds weren't fatal,
the indications were that his son was grazed, and the only reason that he didn't get a full shot was his father was basically protecting him.
Genepsi was inside when all this happened. At this point, that case is still open and unsolved.
Genepsi says she had spent the time since packing up for an impending move.
Following her husband's death, she had plans to sell the house and move. But now she was living there, packing up the place.
At this time, Genepsi was living alone, where her husband just got shot, and she was still living in that house. So of course, she was on edge.
Around 3 p.m. on May 20th, she was taken by surprise.
She tells them that she was inside the house, and she turns, and Elon is inside the house also. How he got in there, it was unknown to her.
Just as she had said in her 911 call, she says Elon Neeson was a friend and business associate of her husband, Orlando. She immediately realized that this was not a friendly visit.
She insisted that Elon forced his way into her home and questioned her aggressively about what her deceased husband's business endeavors were, where his warehouse was, how to get into said warehouse, and so forth.
She denies any knowledge of it. He became angry with her, and she said at some point he grabs her shirt and rips her blouse. At that point, she becomes in fear of her life.
She says that the next thing he does is that he reaches for his waistband.
She saw him do an action that she believed was him reaching for a gun.
Typically, when you're under attack or you feel that you're in danger, there's 3 major ways you could go. You could fight the person. Flight, meaning you could get away, or you freeze up. In this case, Genepsi chose to fight.
Genepsi tells police she turned and ran toward the living room, where she kept a gun.
She's able to secure a firearm and in self-defense shoots him multiple times.
An action that the detectives know is within her rights as a Florida homeowner.
If somebody enters inside your home and you're in fear of your life, they have what they call the stand the ground law, which means you can use deadly force if necessary.
In the state of Florida, there's normally a presumption that because your home is sort of your castle, you can defend that by all means necessary.
Now that they have her version of what happened, they want to know why. Why did Elan come into her home? And what was the source of his anger?
She tells them that she thinks Elan was coming after her because she wanted to see him behind bars.
She told them that she really, in her gut, felt like Elan was involved in her husband's murder.
She was very vocal about who she thought was the killer of her husband, and that person was Elan Neeson.
After shooting Elan Neeson when he allegedly threatened her inside her home, Genepsi Carballo tells detectives she suspects Elan was responsible for her husband's death 1 month before.
She believed he was behind Orlando's death, and when she saw him in her home, she was terrified.
Following the interview with Genepsi, investigators revisit Orlando's case file.
On April 20th, 2008, police officers got a flurry of calls insisting that a man and a 17-month-old baby had both been shot.
When police arrived, they found Orlando, the couple's son, and Genepsi, who had been inside the home when the shooting took place.
She heard the gunshots. She heard a pause, then she heard the gunshots resume. And when she came out, she found her husband, Orlando Mesa, shot. And she was looking for her son. Luckily, a neighbor had grabbed him.
The young child was wounded, but stable. Orlando was in a more serious condition.
Genepsi had to make a choice whether she would stay there with her dying husband or get in the ambulance with her son. Genepsi ultimately made the choice to ride in the ambulance with her son as Orlando lay on the ground dying.
Orlando Mesa was pronounced dead at the scene, and North Miami police began searching for his killers.
So because this all happened in the middle of the day, there were a ton of witness reports. A man and a little boy were just moving along when a sedan pulled up and 2 men hopped out of the sedan and ultimately shot Orlando and his little son.
The interesting thing about Orlando's murder is the nature of the murder. It seemed to be a hit, an execution.
They had no worries about a child being involved. Their mission was to shoot him and make sure he was dead. And if the child was hit, that was just collateral damage that happened.
A neighborhood security camera captured the suspects and the getaway vehicle on video.
There was a surveillance video that captured these individuals coming up in a vehicle, getting out of the vehicle, firing shots, and then leaving very quickly. But the quality of the resolution of the video was not good enough to make an identification of who those people were.
Police issued a be on the lookout based on witness descriptions at the scene, as well as surveillance footage that captured the shooting.
Because the killing appeared to be targeted, the initial investigation focused on Orlando's potential enemies.
So we're looking into the background of Mr. Mesa a little bit more deeper. Was he involved in drugs? Did he have any enemies?
From the outside looking in, one would see Orlando as a hard worker with legitimate jobs.
Detectives investigating had spoken to Ms. Carballo about who could have been responsible for it. Did her husband have any enemies? Were there any business deals that had gone awry?
Even then, Genepsi voiced concerns over Elon's possible involvement.
She told detectives that her husband, Orlando Mesa, had given Elon $180,000 to do a real estate deal. And Elon said that that money was stolen from him in a robbery. He lost $180,000.
If Orlando was gone, he wouldn't have to repay the $180,000.
But when police tried to verify Genepsi's story, they hit a dead end.
There were no bank statements, no text messages, no real evidence to correlate her story about the $180,000.
In fact, just before Elon was shot, Genepsi was poised to try and help police prove his involvement.
One of the North Miami detectives told Genepsi that she should keep contact with Elon. They wanted her to wear a wire.
Genepsi agrees to wear a wire as per the investigators when talking to Elon so that she could get more information. She never actually wore the wire though.
2 days after she had agreed to wear the wire, as requested of her by detectives, is when Elon was found dead in the Carballo home.
On the night of Elon Neesom's death, his admitted shooter, Genepsi Carballo, was questioned by police and released.
Based on her statement to the police of self-defense and with the stand your ground law in the state of Florida, she was not charged.
She's saying that Elon came after her after he killed her husband. Police have no proof that Elon killed Orlando, but they also can't say that it is not true.
Investigators follow up on Genepsi's claims that Elon was involved in her husband's shooting. They speak with his fiancée and mother of his child, Nikita Bennett.
When they came to my parents' house, it was never really about Elon. It was more so about Orlando's case. And that was like, his wife just killed my boyfriend, and you want me to help y'all solve his murder? It wasn't making sense.
Nikita tells them there is no way Elon was involved.
Elon and Orlando were close. As far as Nikita was concerned, there was no animosity between the two.
He was helping her, get things situated after her husband had passed, and he had paid for some plumbing to get done in the house. He had was trying to help her sell the motorcycle or the boat, and it was always something that she needed help with, and he would always do it.
Nikita also doesn't believe Genepsi's claim that Elon assaulted her.
He wasn't that kind of person. He was not going to harm a woman, so that did not sound right at all. I knew something was not right.
That same day, one of Elon's business associates reaches out to police. He said he had been with Elon just before the shooting.
Elon, he had been at the office of one of his mentors in the real estate business, and that mentor said that while he was there in his office, he received a call.
At 1:40 p.m., Elon received a call from Genepsi asking him to bring some items to the house.
The mentor says that he, his wife, and his secretary all overheard the phone call.
He said that Elon had put that call on speaker, and he was able to hear Genepsi tell Elon that he needed to bring some items to the house, which he said he was going to do.
So according to the mentor, Genepsi was aware that Elon was coming over, and that was because she called him over herself. And there were 2 witnesses that could corroborate that Elon was asked by Genepsi to come over to the house.
They saw the news, and on the news, they were saying that Elon was an intruder. They said, no, that's not right.
According to these witnesses, she knew Elon was coming through. Why would she lie about that?
That same day, investigators also get the results of Elon's autopsy.
They're trying to match everything up with the type of ammo that was used and try to just piece everything together and try to paint a picture, so to speak, of what happened.
She's indicating that Elon confronted her in the hallway just as he entered inside the house. During the conversation, he grabs her. She's moving towards the living room and gets a firearm.
According to Ms. Carballo, he was coming towards her and she shot him 5 times. However, the medical examiner determined that most of the shots were into Elon's back.
In this case, he was shot on the right side of his upper back, his midline, so he was actually turned. Now, when you're turning to running, then the bullet would go from right to left. In this case, he was fully turned, so the bullet is going straight back.
In addition to the 3 bullets in the back, Elon was shot twice in the buttocks. One of those bullets remained lodged in his body.
What that means is there's a good possibility that she shot him in the butt when he was on the ground. It looks like he was down and she continued to shoot him. So there's a difference between her story and what the physical evidence of where he was shot indicates happened.
While Genepsi's story appears to be falling apart, investigators cannot prove the killing was intentional under Florida law.
As long as you stand in that spot and an attacker pursues you and you harm that attacker, you're covered. In some cases, people actually pursued the individual and they got off using the stand your ground law.
Months pass, then a year, then 2.
Those 2 years where, no one was convicted of his murder or even charged for his murder were very trying for me.
For Genepsi Carballo, life goes on.
Despite all of the stressors that were going on at the time, Genepsi was very resilient business-wise. She actually moved on to open up a pain clinic in Broward County, Florida.
It was the hot thing, what some in law enforcement call pill mills, where they dispense pain management pills to people that were likely addicts and not suffering from any ailments where they needed those medications.
In 2010, Genepsi once again gets the attention of law enforcement.
There were complaints that she was actually conducting these pain management clinics in an illegal way, and the DEA wanted to know what was going on.
Over 2 years after she shot and killed Elon Neeson, Genepsi Carballo's new business venture draws attention from the Drug Enforcement Agency.
Because of her involvement in these various pill mills, as the DEA would refer to them, they wanted to take a closer look at Ms. Carballo and what she was doing.
The only way they could do it is put somebody on the inside to find out how they were operating this facility.
Undercover DEA agent John Frisky applies for work in Genepsi's pain clinic as an information technology specialist.
I was going into her pill mill to check for illegalities and found quite a few. She was giving away too much medicine, way out of what DEA called the tolerances. I wore a camera and a video device so that I could record all the sounds that were said.
Agent Frisky developed a friendly rapport with his boss.
We got along good. She was very personable, but she totally trusted me.
One day, Genepsy opens up about her husband's murder and who she believes is responsible.
She said that Liam had came to their driveway and shot her husband and her son several times. Her husband passed away there on the sidewalk.
Genepsy told him she considered wearing the wire and working with police, but changed her mind.
You'll be out with a good attorney in no time. I'm not going to do it. And I knew that it was going to be hard to catch him. I was like, I have to do something. Can't let this go. I won't let it go. Okay? And I don't have an eye for an eye on his daughter to grow up without a father to go find him.
Genepsy then told him about how she was able to lure her business partner of her husband, Elam, to her house, bring him in, where she was able to shoot him and make it look like a self-defense, because she felt that this was payback for what happened to her husband.
I knew what was going to happen, and, you know, I was shaking inside, but outside I was calm. Yeah, speak about that rule. And it said, oh, keep going. Keep going for it. Keep too much. She told me she shot him and put it into his life. She said his daughter was going to grow up without a father like her son. I went to the bathroom and called the office, told them that she just confessed to murder, and they told me, get the heck out of there.
And Genepsy had no idea that she had just confessed to an undercover DEA agent and her empire was on the verge of collapsing.
In May 2010, the DEA alerts the North Miami Police Department about Genepsy's confession.
And they said, here you go, here's a taped confession, her on video confessing basically to murdering Elon Nesson.
They look at the tape, they look at some of the other evidence, some of the inconsistencies between what Ms. Carballo said and what the evidence had shown. And at this point, they're convinced that she is guilty of murder.
In December 2010, over 2 years after Elon's death, Genepsy Carballo is arrested.
Genepsy is arrested, and she's charged with first-degree murder. And in the state of Florida, that could mean the death penalty for Genepsy. Immediately, Genepsy's attorneys file a motion for this charge to be thrown out. According to them, this murder, Elon's murder, was 100% justifiable because of Florida's stand your ground law.
The judge that oversaw that hearing, Judge Beth Bloom, did not agree with the defense, and her stand your ground motion was denied. She was not given the immunity that stand your ground affords people in Florida. Her case went to trial.
On November 12, 2014, over 6 years after Elon Neeson was fatally shot, Genepsy finally faces a judge and jury.
Everybody in Miami is watching this case and have no idea what's about to unfold.
In November 2014, Genepsy Carballo is on trial for the shooting death of Elon Neeson.
I didn't miss a court date. I don't care if I had to be at work. I was going to be there because it was important for me. It's important for him. It's important to my daughter that she saw that I was there for her dad.
In contrast to her statements to an undercover DEA agent, Genepsy Carballo repeats her original story that she shot the victim in self-defense.
What the defense argued was that the court should not look at or believe what she told the DEA agent Frisky. They should listen to how frantic she was on that 911 call.
Here's your emergency.
Yes, I'm in the house to talk to Tony. I'm on fire. I'm on the street.
They put up the defense and argued that she was just trying to sound tough when she was talking to the DEA informant, that the things she said there were really not what happened. What really happened was what she had told police before, what she had told investigators time and time again, what she told the operator on the 911 call.
The prosecution focuses on the testimony of Elon's mentor, who overheard a phone call between Genepsy and Elon shortly before Elon was killed.
They said that she brought him over there. She didn't tell the 911 operator about that.
She lured him to the house because she wanted to kill him. He was trying to help her honor his friend who had been killed, so he said yes.
The star witness in the case is DEA agent John Frisky.
I was called in to testify, introduced the tape, recording and the video that I made.
To hear the confession, it showed her to be a premeditated, murderous person, hell-bent on revenge, and would get it no matter what.
As a final touch, prosecutors present the autopsy report.
The forensic evidence said Elon was shot in his back. The positioning of his body and the positioning of the entry and exit wounds were consistent with the confession that she later made, that she killed him as an act of revenge.
He started to run, and she shot him 5 times in the back. To me, it was cold-blooded murder.
The jury agrees.
Genepsy is found guilty of first-degree murder. So ultimately, her son is now going to live without a mother and father because she's serving the rest of her life in prison.
I felt a lot of anger towards her, and not because of the murder, not because of what she had done to Elon, but because of what she had done to her child. I had witnessed her and her baby talking outside in the hallway of the courtroom, and I knew it was her last interaction as a free woman with her child, and they had to be like 7 years old at the time. My daughter was the same age, and I remember just looking at her. That was difficult for me to watch, and I didn't feel any gratitude after the case was over either, because like nobody won. Nobody won.
Both of these children lost their father. Orlando's son lost his father and his mother. His mother's taken away from serving time in prison now.
I wish he had not made that decision to do that to Elon, because you could have been here raising your son. You know, my kids don't deserve that.
Genepsy should have just left things the way it was, let the law do what they got to do, and over time, hopefully things would have got settled, but unfortunately, we may never know the full truth of what happened.
Orlando's murder remains unsolved. There's never been any proof that Elon was involved.
Elon, I want him to be remembered for his giving spirit. He was someone who just wanted to help people. Despite of what anybody may know about him, remember me, he was a giver. He was a loving person. He was a family man. He took care of his family, and I want people to understand and know that about him.
We was always together. I just loved her. I just loved being around her. I threw her baby shower and she threw my baby shower. We couldn't get no closer than what we was.
there were at least 15 to 20 people involved in the mass brawl.
Fists are flying. Hair is being pulled.
I'm sitting on the ground holding my sister, and she's saying she cannot breathe. I cannot breathe.
He was just mean to me. Every morning he'd mess with me and my brother.
This really comes down to moms protecting their children.
She came off her porch with the knife, ready to fight.
This isn't an ordinary response. This is a fierce need for payback.
I don't know how it escalated so quick, but everything just went wild. Everything just went wild.
It's the afternoon of April 27th, 2005. The streets of Euclid, Ohio, are busy with kids arriving home from school.
Euclid's a really nice suburb of Cleveland. A lot of families move there, hoping to get away from the city life. It's a little quieter, a bedroom community.
In 2005, the neighborhood was very vibrant. Houses were nice, clean, pretty middle class, and very good people living there.
Just after 4 p.m., 911 dispatchers with the Euclid Police Department receive a call about a disturbance on Crystal Avenue.
There was screaming and chaos and mayhem in the background, so much so that the 911 operator had trouble hearing what was actually being said.
The caller told the police that just outside of their neighbor's house, there were at least 15 people fighting. The sounds of yelling and violence were filling the streets. It is pure pandemonium.
So as the police arrive, the fight is still in full effect with at least 15 to 20 people in the front yard involved in the mass brawl.
Fists are flying. Hair is being pulled.
There were children, there were adults. It was just chaos on Crystal Ave.
And so the only thing to do was intervene as they could.
They're trying to separate people, pull them apart, and that's when they see a young woman laying on the ground and she's bleeding out.
I remember seeing my sister on the ground like, what's wrong with you? And, you know, lift up her shirt, you just see blood.
The woman clutching her wounds is 20-year-old Vanessa McMorrick.
When the EMS went to treat Vanessa on the scene, they found that she had been stabbed.
I'm sitting on the ground holding my sister, and she's saying she cannot breathe. I cannot breathe.
Born on April 5th, 1985, Vanessa McMorrick was raised in a large family in Cleveland.
My mother has 6 kids, 3 boys and 3 girls. Vanessa was the baby of the family. There's 10 years between the both of us. We was always together, going to thrift stores with my mother. We was always together. Yes, she was very helpful as a little child, but she was just a tattleteller. You do something, she'd run to mom and tell, you know, just little stuff, little sister stuff. But as she got older, she got better. You know, we became good, best of sisters. Vanessa, she loved singing. She loved dancing. She loved styling. You know, she was into clothes very, very much, and into tennis shoes too. She loved getting her hair done, her nails done. Yeah, she was a girly girl. I just loved her. I just loved being around her. You know what I'm saying? She's always positive, nothing negative coming out, you know, out her mouth. She was loved by everybody. I was 17 when I had my first baby, so she probably was 7. Diamond Barkley is my daughter.
Vanessa and Christina were very close, but Vanessa also enjoyed being with Christina's children, particularly Diamond, her daughter.
Auntie Nessa was like my sister. Whenever I needed her, I could talk to her. When I was afraid to talk to mom about something, Auntie Nessa was there to listen. She made you happy. So like, even if it was something going on, you couldn't be upset.
Vanessa and Diamond, who's Christina's daughter, were really close because, again, Vanessa was the youngest sister, and she was the fun aunt, and so her nieces and nephews looked up to her.
By the time she was a teenager, Vanessa's role in the family was clear.
She was the life of the party. She planned the parties for us. Like, she was that person. She just made it a big thing to keep the family together. All my aunties, all my uncles, we were all close. But Auntie Nessa is the reason that we were all close. That's why we say she was the glue to the family.
But soon, Vanessa would be starting a family of her own.
Vanessa was 15 when she fell in love. It was around 2002 when we found out she was pregnant. We wasn't happy at first, but it grew on us. It's a baby. Oh, Auntie Nessa needed a baby. She loved kids, and she was the best mom. I remember them being both happy because my mom and her were pregnant at the same time. It was wonderful being pregnant with Vanessa. I threw her baby shower, and she threw my baby shower. We couldn't get no closer than what we was. Being pregnant together, we were so happy.
By then, Christina, Diamond, and the rest of her family had left Cleveland for the suburb of Euclid.
Christina moved to Euclid and lived there for several years. It was a small and a quiet community that she thought would be a good place to raise her family. She had several children. She had extended family who liked to come over there. And so she really looked to get away from the hustle and the bustle of the city of Cleveland.
When we first moved out in Euclid, yes, we was happy because where we came from, you're trying to, do better for your kids, get a better schooling for your kids. So Euclid was pretty good to us. The family, they would come over and visit me, and I would go over to their house and visit them. It's vice versa. We all went to each other's house.
A couple months after turning 18, Vanessa gave birth to a son.
All of us was helping her with the baby. My mother was helping her the most with the baby. She lived with my mother with the baby. Her and the baby father lived with my mother for a minute, and then they got their own place.
Vanessa was living in downtown Cleveland in the same building with her child's father, and they were working together as a unit.
For the next 2 years, Vanessa settled into the responsibilities that came with being a mother.
She was working at a clothing store, and she was actually doing pretty good for herself.
She was into fashion, but I don't know if she was going to go to school for fashion. She was still so young. She didn't decide what she wanted yet. She was just more focused on just, paying her bills, going to work, and taking care of her son.
The 20-year-old stayed connected to her family, especially to Christina and Diamond, who were a short distance away in Euclid.
She just was at our house all the time. She had her own apartment downtown Cleveland, but she used to get on the bus and come to our house and just, spend nights, spend days. Our house was the hub.
But on the afternoon of April 27, 2005, Christina holds her baby sister in her arms as Vanessa is tended to by paramedics on the street where Christina lives.
They made all of us go in, all the kids, we had to go in the house. My dad shut the door. They're outside. They told us not to come outside, so I didn't know what else was happening after that. I remember ambulances and police. So they put her into the ambulance, and then I just started feeling burning on my back. They saw that I was stabbed.
I guess because of adrenaline or because of concern for her sister, Christina didn't even know she was stabbed in her back.
So they put me in the ambulance. I'm not worried about me. I'm worried more about my sister and thinking more about her son.
As the ambulances race away, the officers try to restore order.
There were at least 15 to 20 people, males, females, children, parents, grandparents, everybody in the front yard involved in the mass brawl. So their first order of business, number one, was to break up people still engaged in the fight. As the police started to get the party separated, several people stated that the person that had stabbed Vanessa was in the house.
And so police then go into the home.
You still want to approach the person with caution, which is paramount. You would go in to make sure that there's nothing in the immediate vicinity to harm you.
The police were obviously cautious and entered the home with guns drawn.
Street descends into chaos as a violent melee leaves 20-year-old Vanessa McMorrick with multiple stab wounds. Her sister, Christina, is also injured.
Vanessa is the more serious. Actually, Christina didn't even know she was stabbed in her back. It turns out to be a shallow wound. They were both taken to Hillcrest Hospital. Vanessa was taken into surgery to try and save her life.
She had been stabbed in her chest and pulmonary artery. They needed to take care of her right now if they want to try to save her.
Back on Crystal Avenue, police enter a home where a witness stated the suspect responsible for the stabbings is hiding out.
The person they were speaking of was Ashley Berger. The police did go to the house, and Ashley was in the house.
While an officer takes the 32-year-old into custody, he spots something out of the corner of his eye.
And they find a giant steak knife in the sink. There was a little bit of blood there, but it looks like Ashley had been trying to wash the blood off.
When the police came in, they wanted to know from Ashley, was that the knife that was used to stab Christina and Vanessa? And Ashley simply said, I don't know.
Ashley was a pretty calm, quiet young lady as well. Rather small in stature, but she was really calm and cool.
So at this point, police collected the knife and put it into evidence.
They wanted to determine if this was the knife that was used.
Ashley was taken to the police station for further questioning.
Outside the house, detectives learn from bystanders that Ashley and Christina are neighbors.
Ashley Berger moved into the home next door to Christina around 2004. So about maybe a year after Christina and her family had moved in. The two families are living right next door to each other. They both have large, extended families.
And those two families were the ones involved in the brawl.
It was a conflict between these two families, these neighbors.
While the fighting has stopped, investigators find that tension is still running high.
Everybody was pointing at each other. Ashley's side was blaming Christina and Vanessa. Christina and Vanessa's side was blaming Ashley's side.
On one side, Christina's family is stating that Ashley's family initiated the whole situation and that Ashley came outside wielding a knife at them. On the other side, Ashley's family was saying that, no, they wasn't like that, that Christina's family initiated the situation and they were trying to attack them.
It was obvious that it wasn't going to be easy to get to the bottom of what was going on here.
So they had to take them somewhere where the police were in control, and where that was the Euclid Police Station.
Police transport family members from both sides to the station. A violent crimes detective heads out to check on Vanessa and Christina.
Upon arriving at the hospital, he had found out that Vanessa was rushed to surgery and was not able to get a statement from her.
Christina, however, can talk, having received stitches to a shallow stab wound in her back.
Christina recounted her side of what happened on Crystal Avenue.
It was my daughter's birthday that weekend, so we went to the store to get her outfit for her birthday.
Auntie Nessa was there for my birthday. She was there to help me pick out outfits.
We pull into the driveway. My neighbor, Ashley Berger, she had already called a whole bunch of people over, and they're sitting on the porch. Her mother, her father, her brother. I don't know if it was his girlfriend, her baby father. His mother was over there, who's a nurse. It was her, and then her kids.
Christina indicated to the detective at that point in time, Matt, Ashley's boyfriend, was yelling at her and Vanessa.
So we're getting out the car, and he come and get in my sister's face. And I'm telling him, we don't got no problem. We don't need no problems.
He's just getting louder and getting closer and closer to her face, and he's like yelling at her.
According to Christina, her 15-year-old nephew came out of her house and tried to intervene by stepping in between Vanessa and Matt.
Matt knocks my nephew on the floor and is up there hitting on him.
And that, she says, started the fight.
And at that point in time, everybody's running out of their house and it becomes a big brawl.
I don't know how it escalated so quick, but everything just went wild. All I know is I'm in the middle of all these people pulling my hair and doing all this stuff.
In the midst of the chaos, she heard someone call out.
She has a knife. She has a knife.
Christina says she saw Ashley run out the house, yelling and screaming and wielding a knife, swinging it wildly.
According to Christina, she goes up and she grabs Ashley's knife, trying to stop her from stabbing her.
I'm just holding the knife while she still had a grip to it.
But she had to let go.
Ashley's family was yelling for her to get inside, and at this point, Christina starts to turn away.
While Christina is walking away, she sees her sister Vanessa holding her chest, and then all of a sudden she collapses.
Christina felt as though she had been punched in the back, that indeed she had been stabbed.
Everything was in slow motion. What's going through my head is like, is my sister okay?
Christina laid out what happened during the melee, but investigators wanted to know more. They want to know why.
So Christina, at the hospital, she went back and recounted all this stuff that she says led up to today.
She's a very ugly person. There's no talking to no ugly person.
In Euclid, Ohio, leaves 20-year-old Vanessa McMorrick's life hanging in the balance. While doctors operate, investigators ask Vanessa's sister, Christina, to explain what led to the fight on Crystal Avenue.
Christina had been living in Euclid, Ohio with her fiance and her 5 children.
When I moved to Euclid, it was wonderful. Everything was good. We had just moved from Wayside over in Cleveland, so we moved to a better neighborhood for the kids, a better school system, so I was happy.
In the summer of 2004, Ashley Berger moved in next door with her boyfriend, Matt, and her 4 young children.
When they moved in, I had my hands full with my children. I paid no attention to what she was doing nor her family was doing.
Ashley didn't make it her business to try to be super friendly with the neighbors, but no real problems initially.
Christina says that changed in the fall.
It seems that trouble first started brewing when Christina's daughter, Diamond, was going to school with Ashley's son.
At first, he was nice. He liked to ride the bikes with us and everything. But then he just started getting aggressive. He used to pull my hair, he used to pull my hood, and I think he was picking on me because he liked me. The little boy, little girl crush thing that happens when you're younger, but I did not like boys at the time. I was not into dating. I wanted to play.
So as it progressed, he became a bully to her. He started to harass her.
He was just mean to me and my brother. Every morning, he'd mess with me and my brother. There was one day we were standing at the bus stop waiting for the bus, and he grabbed a snowball, but it wasn't snow. It was like an ice ball because the snow was melting. And then he threw it at my face and left me with a nice big red mark. That's when I started telling my mom.
Christina, being the mother she is, tried to go over to Ashley's house and tell her, hey, this is what's happening. You know, tell your son, you know, to stop bothering my daughter.
I do remember saying, I do not want to turn this into a you and I situation. Let's try to handle this like parents. Let's not take it nowhere else.
But according to Christina, Ashley did not share her desire to be civil.
She had an ugly attitude from the start.
She was the typical protective parent and saying that her son wasn't capable of this, so she rejected everything that Christina was saying.
Christina says that tension between the two mothers continued to build. In February 2005, it came to a head.
Christina went to confront Ashley about certain behaviors involving the children again.
She didn't answer her door. So from walking back from her porch, I saw her boyfriend, Matthew, walking down the street.
She approached him to talk to him about the situation. Ashley sees the discussion. She runs outside.
Ashley accuses Christina of flirting with her boyfriend.
She said, don't talk to her man, so it sounded like jealousy.
She hit my mom in her face, and my mom ended up on top of her, like punching her, everything.
After that, police were called, but no one was arrested, and the police told them to go back to their separate homes and just to leave each other alone.
I actually went up to go press charges on her at the Euclid police station. They said, well, there's nothing we can do about it because you hit her back. You press charges on her, she can press charges on me, and we can both go to jail.
Now, tensions between the two families continued to escalate from daily threats and talks of violence. Both parents were playing a mama bear role. And if you know anything about being a mama bear, you are protective of your cubs.
If you harm a mother's child, that mama bear instinct is not only to protect her child, it's about payback.
It started getting really bad.
When we got out the car, and if you even stepped in their grass, it started an argument. It started a huge fight. It's minor things like that that triggered everything else.
Christina says the police were called on a regular basis.
It got to a point where we started calling the police so much that they said that they was gonna arrest us for calling so much and coming out there so much, yes. So I stopped calling them after that.
With all this back and forth between the families and all these wild incidents, it made Christina say, you know what? I can't take this. I gotta get out of here.
We was about to be out that summer, and then this happened.
During the interview, a doctor arrives with an update on Vanessa's condition.
The doctor came in there and said, I'm sorry to tell you, your sister passed away. I just couldn't believe it. Yeah, I was in shock. I'm still in shock. I'm gonna always be in shock.
So what was once a domestic disturbance is now a homicide.
It becomes a big deal when you go from a neighborhood spat to a full-out brawl to somebody being dead. It's no longer about, is someone going to be arrested, but who's going to be arrested and when are they going to be arrested?
Vanessa, she had been stabbed once through her lung and through her pulmonary artery. These things essentially caused Vanessa to bleed out.
Vanessa's sister, Christina, points to Christina's neighbor, 32-year-old Ashley Berger, as the person who wielded the knife. Christina says the feud that led to the fight was between her and Ashley, not Vanessa and Ashley.
It wasn't Nessa's business. She didn't have nothing to do with this, so I didn't ever bring her into the situation.
Following the interview with Christina, detectives go back to the Euclid Police Department, where Ashley Berger waits in an interrogation room.
So as the officers go in to question Ashley, it was made known to her that Vanessa had passed. And in what police terms is known as an excited utterance,
she blurted out, I didn't mean to do it.
Ashley launches her own version of what led to the fight.
Ashley felt that Christina's daughter, Diamond, was the aggressor, and that Christina's nephews were also harassing her son, not the other way around.
Ashley says she had contacted the police several times to report bullying and harassment. And Ashley even tried to obtain a restraining order against Christina.
The police told her pretty much that, unfortunately, with all the bickering and arguing back and forth, it fell under the Freedom of Speech Act, so she really didn't have a case.
The morning before the stabbing, she tried one last time to put a stop to the feud.
Ashley told police that she didn't want things to go this far. She was trying to prevent all of this. But on April 27th, Ashley Berger called police once again because she said that Christina's nephews were harassing her son at the bus stop.
The officer goes to Christina's home to talk to her about this, but she's not there.
Christina, in fact, had been out with Vanessa and Diamond preparing for Diamond's upcoming birthday party.
So police go back to Ashley and tell Ashley, listen, we tried to talk to Christina. She wasn't home. You guys just stay away from each other. If anything else happens, give us a call.
Ashley says she called her parents and other family members to her home for support. They gathered on her front porch.
That's when everything started to happen. Vanessa and Christina arrived home back from the store. That is when the fight ensued.
During this whole battle, Ashley is inside the house trying to protect her children. She sees her parents fighting.
Ashley says she was scared for her family and her baby.
Ashley revealed that she was 5 months pregnant.
So she grabbed a knife and went outside and she held it up really high and said, hey, everybody get the F out of my yard. Get out of here. And she wanted to make sure that they saw it and tried to scare them off.
Ashley indicates to the police that Vanessa and Christina approached her home and were on her porch.
Christina and Vanessa run at her saying, we're not scared of you. And they came right at her.
They stated that they were gonna not only kill her, but stomp the baby out of her as well.
According to Ashley, there was a struggle between Ashley and Christina over the knife.
During that same time, she said Vanessa was pulling her hair. So now Ashley is just trying to reach down and swing down on both of them to get loose. And that's possibly how they could have got stabbed. And once they finally let her go, she said she walked back in the house.
Ashley told investigators that she did not know if she had stabbed Vanessa and Christina, and if she did, she didn't know that she did.
Ashley was very vehement about it being self-defense. Matter of fact, she stated she never even left the porch.
Detectives believe that Ashley did stab the two women during the fight. But the question is, did she mean to?
Was Ashley intentional in trying to harm and kill Vanessa and Christina? Or was she just the mother that was trying to protect her unborn child?
Investigators turn to the family members from both sides who have come to the station for questioning.
So detectives have their work cut out for them. They're interviewing all of these people at Euclid headquarters and trying to find out exactly how all of this started.
I'm sure every detective in Euclid was on duty that night, even if they had to call people in, to make sure they got accurate statements, because the fresher it is, the more accurate it's going to be.
As police were trying to get to the bottom of how all of this started, they were hearing conflicting stories.
Christina's older nephew said that the fight started when he saw Matt, Ashley's boyfriend, in Vanessa's face. He walked over to Matt and wanted Matt to leave Vanessa alone. At this point, Matt grabs Del Monte, puts him in the headlock, and begins punching him in the face.
Now, Matt had a different side of the story. He was saying that when Vanessa and Christina came up, they started yelling and arguing and everything, and then even spit in his face, and that's what initiated the whole altercation.
The story seems to follow along the same path, The exception is both sides are blaming each other for the escalation.
With blame flying and fingers pointing, detectives must turn elsewhere for answers.
The investigators had to really get more information and really cross-check everybody's accounts. And they had to use evidence to see what happened.
Euclid police believe that Ashley Berger stabbed Vanessa McMorrick during a brawl, leading to her death. They must determine whether Ashley acted out of self-defense or out of a vengeful and intentional rage. Investigators turn to evidence for answers.
At the scene, the police did retrieve the knife as the evidence in the sink.
So they got that, and that's one piece of evidence that they can use to try to figure out this case.
It was eventually tested, and according to lab reports, they weren't able to get any traces off of the knife. She had cleaned the knife off.
But the knife isn't the only evidence investigators have.
There were pictures included in the crime scene package of bloodstains outside the home.
The location of the blood became very important. It's all going to come down to where the blood was at.
According to Ashley, the stabbing happened just outside her door on the porch.
She stabbed him in self-defense only when Christina and Vanessa came onto her porch.
But when they looked at the crime scene photos, they saw a pool of blood in front of the living room window.
The living room window was down a ways from the actual porch.
There's no evidence of blood on the porch. So it was confirmed by the evidence of the blood pool that the stabbing more likely occurred under the window.
That leads them to believe that she came off the porch, meaning that she would have went towards Christina and Vanessa. So now they think that it's possible that this was not self-defense. This was a direct, intentional attack against Christina and Vanessa.
The autopsy delivers another strike against Ashley.
The coroner's office indicated that there were at least 7 stab wounds to Vanessa.
Multiple stab wounds is more indicative of anger or rage rather than self-defense. And in this case, Vanessa had 7, not just 1.
The type of wounds to her body were not just incidental knife slashes. As Ashley said, she was just flailing the knife around. But it was more indicative of targeted strikes to Vanessa. And that could be, ascertained by the angle of the knife, the deepness of the piercings, and the whole bit.
The stab wound that ultimately killed her was about 3 inches deep and was well into her chest cavity.
Another piece of evidence was Ashley stabbed Christina in the back, meaning that Christina was walking away. If it was self-defense, why would you stab somebody in the back?
After the detectives gathered as much evidence as they did, it was decided that Ashley Berger was going to be arrested.
On June 2nd, 2005, Ashley was formally indicted. She was indicted on aggravated murder charges as well as several counts of felonious assault. After the incident, Ashley remained in jail for about 80 days prior to her posting bond. As a condition of her bond, Ashley was to remain on house arrest until she gave birth to her child. She was staying with her mom rather than going back to her house in Euclid.
After the entire fight that night, when my aunt lost her life, I don't remember them ever being home ever again. I never seen their van. I didn't see them move. They just were not there anymore.
On August 29th, 4 months after the stabbing, Ashley gives birth to her little girl.
In the months that follow, Ashley stands by her self-defense claim. On November 7th, 2005, she goes on trial for murdering Vanessa and assaulting Christina.
Really what it came down to was self-defense a viable legal argument?
In November 2005, Ashley Berger's trial begins in a Cleveland courtroom.
The prosecutors portrayed Ashley as being angry and wanting revenge, and that her intention in getting that knife was to harm Christina and Vanessa.
The prosecutor said that Ashley was the only person involved in the fight with a weapon, and she went outside to do harm.
But the one thing that he really focused on was the fact that she had time to decide to do something different, and she chose to go get the knife, and as a result, one person is dead.
They also focused on where the pool of blood was located on the scene.
Ashley had initially claimed that this happened on her porch, but the photos clearly show that the pool of blood was outside the living room window.
The pool of blood was proof that Ashley wasn't just on her porch in a self-defense stance, that she came off her porch with the knife ready to fight.
This isn't an ordinary response. This is a fierce need for payback.
The defense team argues that Ashley grabbed the knife to prevent violence, not inflict it.
She came outside with a knife because she saw them attacking her mom, so she was just trying to scare them off.
As well as to protect her baby.
The defense called multiple witnesses, mostly Ashley's family members who were there on scene that day, and they did testify that Vanessa and Christina were not only threatening Ashley, but her unborn child.
During her testimony, Ashley claims that Vanessa repeatedly threatened to kick the baby out of her.
The defense tried to make the point that she was in imminent danger and that her motivation was to protect her family.
They claimed that she was a terrified mother who just simply sought to protect her unborn child.
But Christina takes the stand to refute those claims.
Ashley Berger's a full liar. What you mean kick the baby out of her stomach? We didn't even know she was pregnant. They trying to find anything to get her out of her situation. They're trying to make her seem innocent in any type of way, and she's not innocent at all.
After nearly 2 weeks of testimony, the state rests. On November 21st, 2005, the jury comes to a decision.
The jury was not totally convinced by either side. However, they did convict Ashley of lesser charges.
Ashley Berger was found guilty of involuntary manslaughter, voluntary manslaughter, and aggravated assault for the attack on Vanessa and Christina. Manslaughter means that you did cause the death, but it wasn't planned or it wasn't necessarily intentional, but a person still died. The judge has discretion as to how to be fair to everybody. And I guess he believed that giving her 5 years was a stiff enough penalty. Now, I would dare say if you talk to Christina and Vanessa's family, they would say she didn't get enough time.
My mom was stabbed in the back and my aunt was stabbed 7 times. You weren't defending yourself at that point. She should have definitely gotten more than what she had.
No, justice wasn't served. Heat of passion, 5 years. No, it wasn't served. They was feeling sorry for her. First time offense, mother, she wanted to be home with her kids. That's really sad. I don't understand that, but I guess it ain't for me to understand.
As a defense attorney, this case has lots of layers, but this really comes down to emotional moms protecting their children.
This was layers, an evolution of payback, back and forth between both sides.
I got survivor's remorse. It's not my fault, but it's just the way it's played out. You know what I'm saying? That's nothing to do with it. You didn't even know her name. That's the messed up part.
I just know my aunt's not here. I know she put a huge hole in my family. It's like, it'll never be the same. So.
This really tore us apart. You just don't know how much one person is really needed in a family. Vanessa is never forgotten. She is always with us.
He was very talented. Oh, he was the artist. I get back to the house and I said those are detectives. So they look at each other. I say, where is he? And she's like, he didn't make it.
What did you need an officer for?
There's been a homicide.
There was so much blood all over the floor that the officers were concerned that they would slip.
That's overkill. Emphasis on the word kill.
We have 3 people. One of them is dead, 2 of them are alive.
Get down on the ground! Spray out! There was a direct assault, a direct diss to his street cred.
He went over his friend's home thinking that he was going to go to a party, but he was walking into a lion's den.
He was beyond pissed.
This was a heartless and cruel revenge.
Maitland, Florida is a low-key inland community, set aside from the beaches and tourist attractions.
It's an area where, people live. There's families who live there, and people live and work nearby in Orlando. They drive to Orlando. Maitland isn't one of those places that you see on the news all the time or hear that there's a lot of crime taking place.
On November 26, 2018, it's just before midnight when a call comes into 911 that gets the immediate attention of the Seminole County Sheriff's Office.
911, you need police, fire, or medical?
I need police.
Okay, and what did you need an officer for?
There's been a homicide committed.
The caller identifies himself as Walter Johnson.
But I don't know exactly what just happened. I just walked in the house, they killed him.
Is there anybody else at the house?
It's my roommates. These are people I live with.
The caller explains that he just returned home with a date when he walked in on the horrific scene.
He saw his 2 roommates, but he also saw garbage bags on the floor. And the garbage bags had a body in it. Mr. Johnson leaves, gets into his date's car, and goes as far as he can. But he calls 911 and he's frantic because he just witnessed a bloodbath.
Seminole County Sheriff's deputies arrive at the address Walter gave them on South Boulevard.
Sheriff's Office. Deputies then tried to make entry into the house in the front, but they couldn't get in. The door was locked.
Keep knocking. Let me know if you get an answer.
So they went around back. The door was open, and that's when they saw the crime scene as soon as they walked through the door.
They observed a body on the floor, and it was bleeding profusely.
When they saw the body, they heard someone in another room screaming for help.
Deputies followed the calls for help to a hallway bathroom.
Inside, they saw a man who was distraught, emotional, basically telling them, "It wasn't me. I wasn't the one who killed him."
He identifies himself as Ian McClurg.
He said his roommate was the one who actually stabbed that victim to death.
But the roommate is gone.
He ran from the house, the murder scene, on foot.
Ian gives them the victim's name.
Investigators identified the victim of this crime as 24-year-old Josh Barnes. He wasn't a resident of that home, so one of the questions that detectives wanted to answer was, why did he come there that day and what happened to him when he got there?
Joshua Nathan Barnes was born on September 25th, 1994.
He was a wonderful baby. Like, Josh was the ideal baby that a mother would want.
Josh was the oldest child of the family from his mom. They came from Savannah, Georgia to here in Florida to live.
Josh is a typical big brother, protective. He gave all of his younger siblings a hard time.
Growing up, church played a central role in the Barnes family.
Josh's grandparents on both sides, strong people of faith. And so they have always been a family that attended church together.
My church has been my #1 foundation and support through everything, like literally.
Josh was strong in his faith. But at school, he struggled to find his place.
I enrolled him into alternative schools for his diploma. That went left. Then I sent him to another alternative school. That went left. So I just kind of swayed back and let him try to figure out what it was in life that he really wanted to do.
He was very creative with music. Josh would always try to make beats, or he got a rap or something to finesse.
And he was a gamer. He loved games. He was big into animation, games, music. That's who Joshua was.
At 19, Joshua unexpectedly became a father.
It was not a relationship like a girlfriend-boyfriend relationship. She was a young mother. She was 17, Josh was 19. He did the best that I think he could have done. He knew mama was there and my husband was there, so he had a whole village.
His son being born, I think that was an eye-opener for him, that it was time to man up and I have to be here for my son.
He had his little jobs here and there. He used to work for FedEx. His last job was at the call center in Altamont.
At 24, Josh was caught in between youth and adulthood.
I would have to get on to him a lot of times, just reinforcing and redirecting him what to do for him before he can hit the back door.
He would go and spend the night with friends, maybe go out to a club or whatever they may do, play games.
You're really just starting to figure out life. Who do I want to be?
But that's a question that Josh won't get the chance to answer.
Hey guys, we need to clear this scene. Go around the corner.
Deputies with the Seminole County Sheriff's Office have just discovered his body inside a Maitland, Florida home.
Ian was found by law enforcement in the bathroom, very distraught, very distressed.
He tells the deputies that the third man, his roommate, is responsible for the killing.
The suspect was Jake Bellotta, and we had to go and find this person.
Given the grisly crime scene, the Seminole County Sheriff's Office pulls out all the stops.
This scene is something straight out of a movie. We have the police officers in choppers up above using infrared cameras trying to find this suspect. We have the K-9 police units on the ground going door to door looking for this guy.
Just after midnight on November 27, 2018, the Seminole County Sheriff's Office is on the scene of a grisly killing.
You have Ian who hid in the bathroom. You have Jake who just left his home, left a crime scene, left a dead body.
A search is quickly mobilized for Jake Bellotta.
If you let someone get away 12 to 24 hours, they could be long gone. They could be in another state. So we try to find them as quickly as possible. They called the helicopter, and they came out, and they were checking the area one by one, street by street, block by block.
With the search underway, Ian McClurg is taken to the sheriff's office for questioning. Major crimes investigators arrive at the home on South Boulevard to take a look at the scene.
It's their job to paint a picture to determine what happened inside that home, but this scene was a nightmare. This was going to be a challenge. There was blood droplets everywhere, blood smears all over the house. There were footprints everywhere. The body was partially covered in plastic and wrapped in duct tape, and it looked like it had been dragged throughout the house. They saw a bucket with bloody water inside and cleaning supplies. Whoever had done this was trying to clean up that crime scene. And there looked like there had been a massive struggle when this all happened.
The evidence was just all over the place. You could see a handprint, a bloody handprint on the wall where possibly the victim was losing consciousness and trying to get away. This young man fought for his life.
Crime scene technicians found a bloody knife, and they believed that to be the murder weapon. It appeared that this victim had been stabbed multiple times.
The 9-inch chef's knife is covered in blood, lying on the floor in the back hallway.
They wrap that up in evidence and send that to the lab. Find out whose prints are on it, find out whose blood is on it.
While searching the crime scene, detectives were able to find something they thought was unusual. It was a bloody backpack.
In the backpack was a game station, a pair of shoes, and a vaping machine.
The backpack had a tear in it, and there was blood. So it had them wondering, was Josh Barnes wearing this backpack when he was attacked? Typically, in a situation where someone's attacking you, they'll walk into the house, they'll take their backpack off, and then they'll attack. But in this case, investigators believe the victim was attacked as soon as he walked through the door.
As crime scene technicians continue to process the scene, investigators speak with a 911 caller, Walter Johnson, outside the home.
Mr. Johnson was the new roommate. He was out on a date, having a good time. Didn't have a car, so his date had to pick him up.
Walter tells them that his roommate, Jake Bellotta, was a known hothead, and recently his temper had been flaring.
They go on their date, they come back. I'm not gonna invite you in yet. Let me go check the vibe.
Tensions were high, and that was the reason why he was walking in and left his date in the car before he was inviting her in, because he wanted to make sure that everything was cool and the vibes were chill. So he walked in on something that he did not expect.
And inside, he saw Ian McClure holding a knife. And he also sees a body on the ground. and he recognizes that person as Joshua Barnes. So as you can imagine, he was terrified.
Jake Bellotta made some kind of remark about he really put up a good fight.
He tells investigators he had to think on his feet.
He even said, I took the knife out of his hand and threw it in the other room because I was afraid of him. They wanted him to help him get the body out. Mr. Johnson said, yeah, okay. But man, I'm on a date. I gotta get my girl out of here. You know, I don't want her in here. So he left. And when he left, that's when he called 911 because he didn't want to have anything to do with that.
Walter's date verifies his story, leading police to believe he is telling the truth.
He was doing everything he could to get investigators, get police to that house as soon as possible.
Then, investigators get an urgent update on the search for Jake Bellotta.
The helicopter was up searching using the infrared sensing devices in order to sense the body heat.
Alert to Altamont Canine. You almost 97. I've got a target I can't clear in the back corner of that parking lot. Over your head!
You know how moms are. You're going to get up and you're going to go to church. So she would make sure Josh come to church, and like times when I wouldn't see him, I would call him and say, hey, I haven't seen you at church. You need to get in church. And I still remember Josh being baptized at church. Josh got baptized maybe a year or so before his passing. We had recently had a conversation about, you know, just doing the right things in life and all that, and making the right decisions in life. And Josh decided that he wanted to give his life to God and get baptized. He was already talking about new things, new beginnings. That was most of the things I remember having a conversation with him about, just like new life, new beginnings, and getting his life in focus and in check.
The Seminole County Sheriff's Office is searching for suspect Jake Bellotta after he left the scene of a brutal stabbing. Helicopters using heat-sensing technology pick up on a possible subject in a tree near the crime scene.
10-4, 51 that way.
They found him, and the suspect, seeing that he wasn't going to get away,
Get down on the ground! Spread out!
just gave up.
Your hands right there. Don't move your hands.
When detectives made their way to Jake Bellotta, he was very cooperative and he was emotional. He said he was scared.
You got any injuries on you?
Yeah. He tried to stab me with a knife.
Who did?
Instead of portraying himself as the suspect or the aggressor, he claimed he did it in self-defense.
Jake is also bleeding from a cut on his hand.
Is it a slice?
That's definitely a slice.
Investigators, doing their due diligence, they treated Bellotta's injuries. They made sure that paramedics took a look at his bloody feet and a cut that he had on his hand.
Jake is taken to the sheriff's office for questioning. But once there, he is no longer in the mood to talk.
Mr. Bellotta stated that he did not want to answer any questions. He wanted an attorney.
With Jake not talking, investigators are no closer to finding out what happened inside the house that led to Josh's death. But based on Walter's statement, there is still one person who might be able to tell them: Ian McClurg.
He saw Ian McClure as well as Bellotta, and McClure was holding a knife. Investigators took him to the station where he was questioned about what had happened.
Ian gives investigators background on the roommates.
Jake and his roommate Ian both met at Full Sail University, which is a music producer or creative type university in Central Florida. They became friends and decided to move in together.
He says they both knew the victim, Josh Barnes, from working together at a call center.
Barnes also was an artist. He wanted to create music. So he and Bellotta both talked about one day working together, collaborating on making music and making music videos.
He says Josh spent time at the house on South Boulevard.
What was his situation? He had a place to live, but I was talking about maybe potentially managing him as an artist. He was friends with Jake.
He was spending the night hanging out, they were gaming, hanging out and doing things of that nature.
So him and Jake, they were friends. They get along pretty good? Yeah, they were until the falling out.
Ian says Josh spent so much time at the house, he wore out his welcome.
He was just hanging out all day, smoking, playing on his PlayStation.
Jake is like, all right, he's out. And I just remember coming home one day and he wasn't there. And Jake had dropped him off on the other side of town.
Josh stayed away. In the meantime, Walter Johnson moved in. Then, 2 weeks ago, the house was robbed.
I noticed that there were a few things missing. And then I went into Jake's room and his mattress was turned up and it was like flopped over on his end table. Jake wasn't here at the time, he's in Boston.
Some items were missing and all the items belonged to Bellotta. The items that were stolen was a game station, a pair of shoes, and a vaping machine.
Ian says he assumed Josh was the culprit because Josh knew how to get in.
Second door, that's the room that the window's broken. I broke that like a couple months ago.
Ian says he was worried how Jake would react.
Ian, in particular, did not want to let his roommate Jake know because Jake was known to be a hothead. Jake was known to fly off the handle for various things, for the smallest thing.
Walter tried to make peace before Jake got back.
He reached out to Josh Barnes on Instagram and asked him if he could just bring back the items that he took and everything would be forgiven.
But Josh didn't comply.
When does Jake come home and find this stuff out? Start from
he came home today to find out.
Ian tells police that another friend confirmed the suspicions that Josh was the thief. He showed them a screenshot of a conversation he had with Josh, also known as Sosa, about the stolen items.
And he is admitting to it.
Who was Sosa was admitting to?
To stealing her stuff.
Ian says Jake's temper flared on the spot.
Jake was so enraged that Josh not only came into the home and took those goods, but he had the audacity to brag about it. He was so enraged that that pushed him over the edge, and he wanted payback.
Investigators are questioning Ian McClurg in the brutal stabbing of Joshua Barnes. He tells them that his roommate, Jake Bellotta, was furious because he suspected Josh, aka Sosa, of stealing from their home.
So what kind of things were Jake saying today when he got pissed off about, he's punching the hole in the wall? What is he saying?
The mother thinks that we're sweet. Apparently he'd been like going around telling everybody that he robbed us and like making us look like a target, basically.
Joshua apparently called Jake sweet. And because he called him sweet, that was a direct assault, a direct diss to his street cred.
He was beyond pissed. Like, I've seen him pissed before, but he was pissed to the point where he like punched a hole through his door.
Jake decided then and there that he was going to teach Josh a lesson and started to plan his murder.
Ian tells investigators that Jake came up with a strategy.
Jake starts to incessantly text Joshua and send him a barrage of messages, inviting him out to parties and trying to make peace with him and trying to lure him back to the house in one way or another.
He had told Sosa that they were gonna go out, that there was an event. They had girls there. Yeah, that eventually like got Sosa to agree to come alone.
Ian was a part of it. He was assigned to sit there as a lookout. He was sitting on the couch and he was supposed to let him know when Joshua came in.
Jake retrieved a 9-inch knife from the kitchen, and the two roommates waited.
That night, Joshua went over his friend's home thinking that he was going to go to a party, have a good time, and unknowingly to him, he was walking into a lion's den.
When Josh arrived, Jake answered the door.
Joshua arrives to the house wearing his backpack, and he's ambushed by Jake with a knife.
Jake immediately started stabbing him over and over and over again. Now, Ian didn't see the initial stabbing at first, but then when he heard the stabbing, he jumped up and looked in that direction and saw him getting stabbed.
Josh was fighting for his life. Ian is not doing anything. Ian is watching this transpire. He's watching Jake stab Joshua. As Joshua fights for his life and takes his last breath, Jake leans over Joshua's dying body and states, "Who's sweet now?"
Ian says Jake reached for Josh's backpack and made an unexpected discovery.
Joshua is dead, he's gone. And thereafter, Jake happens to pick up Joshua's backpack and open it to see the items that he thought were stolen. In fact, Joshua had them in his possession and was returning them to him.
Jake shook it off and ordered Ian to help clean up.
Ian was very afraid of Bellotta. He was afraid that he'd kill one guy, he'll kill me too.
Which, according to Ian, is why he was holding the knife when Walter walked in.
He gets up and he does help. He helps Jake. He helps Jake collect cleaning products to start cleaning up. He helps Jake fit Joshua's dead body into garbage bags.
But after Walter showed up, he says that Jake panicked and fled on foot.
Ian knew the police was probably going to be on the way, and he was afraid for his own life. Bellotta fled, but he stayed there because he didn't want to be accused of being in the mix. So he stayed there. When the officers got there, he was there to tell the story.
Ian's story rings true, but doesn't line up with Jake's claims that Josh attacked him.
Their stories don't corroborate. They don't come together. You know, one of them's lying and one of them's not. And it's up to us to make the decision.
Detectives get back to work. With two conflicting statements, they must look elsewhere for answers.
They think they're gonna get away with something, but they're not. If you commit a crime, we're gonna get you.
An Olympic contender.
In 1993, he was the third-ranked heavyweight in the nation.
But jealousy and drugs ruin everything.
When you see him on the couch together, he said,
Josh goes back to the house. He has everything in the backpack to get back to him. Which even brings up the question of, was it stealing? Or, since we're friends, you know, friends borrow stuff from friends all the time. You know, anything Josh wanted, his mother would have bought. Tasha would buy Josh whatever he wants. They could afford to buy their kids whatever they wanted. They're a good tithe-paying family to the church. I think that it's just a rash jump to dismissiveness again, to say that, hey, just another black man done. The value of life for African Americans and for Hispanics in this country just does not sit high. The value of life is low. This is a piece of Jake feeling Josh didn't know his place. And since you don't know your place, let me teach you your place. To me, that's a different level of crime.
On November 26, 2018, investigators have just heard a disturbing first-hand account of the stabbing that left 24-year-old father Joshua Barnes dead. At 6 p.m. the evening after he was found, police finally delivered the tragic news to Josh's family.
My son called me and said, Mom, I was like, yes, son. The police is here looking for Josh. I get back to the house. When I pull up to my house, I said, that ain't no police. Those are detectives. They look at each other. I said, where is he? What do I mean, you know, I'm trying to find out where he is. And she's like, he didn't make it.
Mom called me and she was frantic, to say the least. Top of her lungs, yelling, crying, screaming, and telling me that Josh is gone. They killed Josh. They killed Josh.
They didn't tell me he got stabbed. They didn't tell me he got shot. They just told me he didn't make it. I was pissed off and angry at everybody about the whole situation.
It's gut-wrenching. It makes you think that, you know, you can have a conversation or see somebody one day and then the next day they're gone.
Then, investigators learned that the results of Josh's autopsy are in.
The victim had been stabbed 17 times. They found stab wounds to his arms, his back. They say he was cut across his head. They also say his torso was littered with stab wounds. In fact, investigators say the knife used in this crime penetrated his lungs, his liver, his ribs, and even his heart. They say that stabbing was so brutal, so vicious, that the knife actually penetrated the victim and went into the backpack.
The details are brutal, but they offer insight into the conflicting stories given by Jake Bellotta and Ian McClurg.
Self-defense is maybe one stab, or you shoot somebody once, or maybe twice even, you know, to get away from the person who's trying to harm you. But 17 times, that's overkill, and emphasis on the word kill.
We clearly see a lack of remorse. We clearly see a disregard of the rights of others. We clearly see so many things that just shows that this was a heartless and cruel revenge.
Jake is charged with first-degree murder with premeditation. And in the state of Florida, first-degree murder is punishable by life imprisonment without the possibility of parole or the death penalty.
Ian McClurg is charged with conspiracy to commit capital murder, tampering, and accessory after the fact to first-degree murder.
So Ian is offered a choice. He is offered a plea deal in exchange for his cooperation to testify against Jake in his trial. They wanted to ensure that he would testify, that the person who actually committed the crime would go down for it.
As prosecutors take over the case, they know that a conviction is not a sure thing.
The prosecution recognizes that in order to convict Jake of first-degree murder, they will have to have solid evidence. They will have to prove beyond a reasonable doubt in court that Jake premeditated this crime. In Florida, we have the stand your ground law that allows an individual to employ deadly force if they're in fear of their life. That means that a person does not have to retreat if they feel like their life is in imminent danger.
Anytime that you're attacked, you got a right to stand your ground. You can use whatever necessary force to keep from getting hurt.
On December 8th, 2022, Jake Bellotta goes on trial for the murder of Joshua Barnes. The key witness for the prosecution is his former roommate and friend, Ian McClurg.
In his testimony, Ian stated that he was afraid of Jake and he was afraid he'd be next. And that's why he did what he did and he cooperated. Because if he hadn't, he might be next.
The defense team counters by circling back to Jake's claims of self-defense to the officers who arrested him.
Jake sustained injuries. He had some cuts on his hands, on his foot.
He claimed that Barnes was the aggressor, and Bellotta was in fear for his life, and that's why he stabbed the victim. He was emotional. He said he was scared.
Jake's defense team claimed self-defense through Florida Stand Your Ground law.
Mr. Bellotta was at his own house. Anybody that come into your house, you got a right to defend yourself.
Prosecutors counter, calling their own experts to the stand.
When forensic experts testified during Jake's trial, the evidence told a much different story. That story consisted of 17 stab wounds being inflicted onto Joshua's body, which is not consistent with self-defense.
They also argue that Jake's injuries indicate he was the attacker, not the victim.
Jake's injuries were consistent with those of someone who was actually holding the knife, trying to inflict harm on someone else. That they were not consistent with someone trying to defend themselves or have defensive wounds.
When you're stabbing on someone, your hand sometimes slips, and that's how you get cuts on yourself. You cut yourself, and you're bleeding. And especially when you're doing it over and over and over again.
Jurors take less than a day to come to a decision.
The jury does not buy Jake's defense of self, and he is convicted on all counts of first-degree murder, and he is sentenced to life imprisonment without the chance of parole.
I don't think justice would be the word. Just because they convicted a person who killed my son, that's not justice. Not to me.
Ian McClurg is sentenced to 10 years in prison, with 10 years of probation following his release. After serving just 6 years of his 10-year sentence, Ian is released and will instead serve 14 years of probation.
There was enough time, Ian, for you to make a phone call that Josh would have never appeared at the house. You could have de-escalated the situation, as you did not participate in the stabbings of Josh. You definitely could have de-escalated a premeditated situation, but you chose not to. But instead, you chose to stay there with them.
Life is really just getting started. So his path was just starting.
When you first look at the story topically, it seems like just another Black child killed. But when you unfurl it and take the layers back a bit, it becomes way more heartbreaking. The fact that this kid who is somewhat sheltered trusted friends or associates, so much so that he walked into a trap.
There's a little boy that would never ever have his daddy. A little boy who would never ever have his father.
His son can draw like none other. He loves to play games. He's a gamer. He knows how to draw. He's 10 now. He's been drawing. He has an engineering brain. All I could tell, if I had to tell the world anything about him, Joshua was loved.
When you find someone new after ending a marriage, it can give you hope that you're still worthy of love and make you feel that spark again. But what if that spark is just an illusion? You can't see it yet. But your new man isn't who you think he is. In the haze of blind love, you'll soon find yourself going against your morals and betraying the ones you hold most dear.